Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. So excited that you're here. I'm Helen Calvin, and I'm really excited to talk about, oddly enough, one of my favorite topics, which is how to think about your technology and how to not be overwhelmed by thinking about technology and how to use it really simply and really effectively to maximize your business. So today we're going to talk about how to develop your tech strategy, which this slide already just makes it seem so awful and overwhelming and gross. And I don't know about you, I didn't go to coding school. I have a feeling, judging by the responses from our poll, that many of you didn't become developers or technologists in your free time. You're great at commercial real estate, and you should be able to stay great at commercial real estate. So how do we give you the tools to still leverage technology for your business without suddenly having to become a technology specialist overnight? So I'd like to change that framing for a little bit for you. Instead of thinking about your tech strategy, let's think about your tech appetite. And I think this is a helpful way to think about it because it's very similar to a lot of other ways that we frankly consume in life. How many of us have been to the all-you-can-eat buffet, overfilled our plate, and left with regret and remorse? Probably many of us. And I bet that you too have potentially explored technology or taken technology on for your business that ended up being you biting off more than you could chew, or just not really the right fit for what you thought you were looking for. So we want to give you a framework to say, how can I just think about what I'm ready for? Where am I in my technology journey? And how do I assess my tech appetite as opposed to trying to think through some multi-stage tech strategy? So I want to today, and hopefully we'll try and move quickly so that you can ask some questions at the end. But what I want to get through today is giving you some really actionable steps. One, give you a framework by which you can diagnose and assess your tech appetite. And then two, help you think through the areas of your business where you want to focus your time in terms of your use of or your evaluation of technology. And who am I? Why are you even talking to me about this? As we said at the top of the call, I'm Helen Calvin. I'm the Chief Growth Officer for Buildout. I've been in technology for 107 years, give or take 90. And this really is a passion project for me. How we can help people use technology to accelerate their business, but in a really digestible way. And if you don't know anything about Buildout, Buildout has been in the business for over a decade, helping commercial real estate brokers and brokerages really think through all of those mundane but important, constant but important tasks that take up time in your day that aren't your specialty of negotiating deals and making relationships and being experts in your market. And how do we get those tasks off your plate so that you can get back to the specialties that make your business special? We do believe that the future of commercial real estate is technology enabled, but it's very specifically broker led. So we really want to make sure that we're getting brokers back to the business that they need to be doing and take all of the mundane stuff off their plate. If you aren't a current Buildout customer, I'm happy to talk to you about Buildout as ad nauseum and how we can help your business, but today is not focused on that. Today is focused on how we can get you thinking about how to use technology in your business at large. So we're going to start with reviewing a framework and the way I would say to think about your technology appetite. So we're going to give you 4 categories that we use for this framework. I'm going to walk through them. They are unstructured, emergent, strategic, and leader. So this is maybe where you are on your technology journey. So if you're unstructured, this looks like things like maybe you're mostly using Google search for some of your data research or your data aggregation. You use a lot of sticky notes to keep yourself organized, whether that be on tasks you need to do or relationships that you're trying to build. Things like you just do email one by one, and maybe you haven't even worked through marketing at all. You don't really think about how you market your business quite yet. As you go into emergent, you have things like maybe an automated email tool like Outlook or something like Constant Contact. You're moving more of your processes and systems at least to Excel spreadsheets so they're more regimented. You're making outbound calls, some of those activities with your technology. As we move towards strategic, maybe you have more tools in place. You're using a CRM, you're using other resources or technology to source data. Maybe you have more of an automated email marketing in place. And certainly you're thinking about brand and how you want to market yourself from that brand perspective. And if you're all the way over on that leader category, we're now talking about things like really leveraging technology for your data resources, leveraging it and how it feeds into your CRM. And you're also thinking about things like how to really automate and streamline your marketing at scale. And you're starting to think about how you can consolidate tools and get them to play with each other. So those are our 4 categories, and we're going to use the rest of this conversation oriented around those. So I want you to kind of submit in your mind unstructured, emergent, strategic, and leader. Now, one of the things I want to do before we talk about how you use these categories in this diagnosis is I want you to think through, right now we're going to pop up a poll. If you thought about yourself at large with your technology, which category do you think you fit in? Were you in a category with a lot of other folks? Were you maybe by yourself in that category? I would say on that front, think about this like stepping on the scale. We're going to keep using these analogies around your tech appetite, so just lean into it. But think about this as stepping on the scale. It doesn't matter what the number says. It matters that you're honest with yourself about where you're starting and maybe where you want to go. And if we don't assess that honestly, then we kind of don't know what tactics we need to put in place. So think about that category, and let's talk about how we then apply it. So we want to apply this category, not necessarily just carte blanche across our business, but I'd like you to think about mapping it against the deal. What I mean by that is if you've been in commercial real estate for a while, or even if you've just started, you might be saying to yourself, but gosh, commercial real estate and the business of commercial real estate has been happening for a very long time without any technology in place. And certainly established brokers have been doing deals and getting business done for a long time without technology. And maybe they've been maintaining a network of repeat business for years. But what we're starting to see, and this isn't unique to commercial real estate, it's in a lot of industries, is that technology has begun to creep in initially as a differentiator, where you were seeing more modern brokers and brokerages use technology, kind of like I was talking earlier, to take the tasks off their plate that don't necessarily create the specialty of their business or not necessarily the most effective place for them to use their time. And that used to be a differentiator. So your competitors were starting to knock at the door because they were using technology. And what I would say is, even if you're at the top of your game now, it's not just that it's a differentiator that sets you apart, it's starting to become table stakes. And if you've been really successful for a while, your network is growing, the number of deals that you're working on is growing. Even in this market, I see a lot of top brokers managing a lot of spinning plates. And the question then becomes, how are you using technology to maintain all that? It's kind of a lot. And this is where we talk about tech appetite and we talk about the tech maturity model. And the easiest way to think about this isn't just technology across your business, but every stage of managing and processing a deal. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through those different stages of managing deals. And what I want to talk through is what we see. what Buildout tends to see across these deal cycles, and you can say, how does that map up to what you're doing? And you can start to think through those categories again: unstructured, emergent, strategic, leader, and where might you fit on these categories, because that's where we want to zero in and spend your time. So let's look at this part of the deal cycle. The beginning, data research. You're trying to potentially understand your market better. You're trying to look for new deals to be had, new properties to go after. Maybe you're just trying to understand trends that are going in the market. What we tend to see at Buildout is we see a lot of folks in that unstructured or emergent category, but thinking that they're strategic. And what I mean by that is they've invested in a fair number of tools, data aggregators. Maybe they've got some licenses to CoStar or something like Reonomy. They might be spending a fair amount of money on this, but it's very underutilized. What I mean by underutilized is that you're spending the money, but once you get the data, you don't really know what to do with it, or you don't have features or functionality to take action on it. The process of marketing against it, or the process of using it, is still quite manual. So you might be thinking of yourself in that strategic or leader position if you have these tools, but functionally you might be more emergent, and we see a lot. So the ideal step is to think about those data sources, right size what you're spending against them versus what you're getting out of it, and use that data to really understand who are your core buyers, and are there a couple of different ways that I can be leveraging these data sources. And you can really get to strategic when you're beginning to use that data actionably and step away from Excel spreadsheets, and maybe even use that data coupled with a CRM system so that the data and the action that you're taking on the data aren't two separate tools. All right, researching our data, that's what Buildout typically sees. Let's move on and talk a little bit about now contact management. This is your relationships. How are you managing those relationships and working through them? And look, we see across Buildout a lot of successful brokers who have continued to this day to leverage that pen and paper Rolodex, or maybe sticky notes. And that's how they're managing their contact data. What's tough about that is there's not much of a process to replicate, and you're not really getting much marketing or insights. You're not starting to draw conclusions from these different places of data. And I hate to be the one to say this, and if I'm offending your Rolodex on your desk, I apologize, but what worked before is not really going to work going forward. We've seen that consumers across a variety of industries, they just expect a little bit different in how that we're marketing to them, both a consistency and a constancy of that marketing, it being at the right time, at the right moment when they want to hear it. And the successful brokers of tomorrow, they're leveraging those predictive analytics, they're leveraging cutting out the guessing game of when it's time to reach back out potentially to a contact that you've had in the past, and your ability to pull that from a manual system is tough. The other thing I would say is a lot of times when historically brokers and brokerages were correcting for the manual system, it was through manpower. More assistance, more human bodies to help with that and create that scalability of their sort of manual system. And cost-wise, that's just not viable anymore, particularly in today's market. So you have to not just be thinking of technology as an upgrade to your system, but a cost-effective way of doing things is going forward. So we're seeing more brokers use a CRM and some sort of automation for data collection. And when your contacts are well organized with these kinds of methods, you're starting to be in that strategic level. And then if you want to get up to leader, then you're starting to look at things like a CRM really dedicated to commercial real estate. Commercial real estate has a lot of nuance and a lot of specifics to it. And you really want to make sure that you have a CRM that is built for those specifics. And that really would get you more into that leader category as we start to think about contact management. All right. Let's now think about how you're doing in the prospecting space. Now, I will tell you, Buildout's experience is that this is the stage where we see most brokers and brokerages really in the unstructured or emergent level. I think prospecting, particularly in the recent decades of heyday, where a lot of deals were falling in your lap, or your existing network of relationships was driving enough business that outbound prospecting wasn't a regular part of your process. And we're seeing a lot of teams struggle in the modern market headwinds because prospecting wasn't something that they used regularly, or something that they were using technology to support them with as much. If you're not maximizing that outreach at scale, particularly with your marketing and your materials and just how you're able to reach out to many contacts at once, you are not really going to be in a space to be able to capitalize on this market. I would also suggest that it's building those relationships now, even though deals might not be prevalent. It's going to pitch you ahead as soon as those interest rates raise even or go down even a little bit. We're going to start to see the floodgates open, and you want to have already built those relationships. So one of the best things that prop tech has brought to commercial real estate is that ability to leverage that contact data at scale. And if we go back to that data research category, it's also the ability to get that data and be able to prospect against it. You want to have detailed prospecting workflows at your fingertips. What does that even mean? Workflows. You want to have emails being sent. You want to have outreach being sent without you even having to touch it, just by putting a prospect's name into a list that then you can be reaching out to. And that way you're not always in that day-to-day drain of prospecting and carving out the time. You want an engine running in the background for you. So if you're feeling like I'm not even thinking about prospecting in my week or my day, nonetheless using technology for it, unstructured, maybe emergent. If you're saying I've got some technology in place, but I'm still feeling the daily exhaustion of prospecting, maybe you're emergent or strategic. And until you're really feeling the deals and the new opportunities coming in from an engine that you've built behind you, you're not yet in that leadership category. And again, we see most folks being particularly unstructured or emergent here, and yet it's one of the most critical parts, particularly in this market, of how you're going to get ahead. All right, let's talk about once you've got the deal. So then we've got deal flow. So think about this as all of the processes and just all of the check boxes that have to get checked for you to get a deal across the finish line. It's not every day that we need someone at the leadership level who's really managing a beautiful deal flow where every box is checked. In fact, we see a lot of pieces of paper pinned and nailed to the side of the brokerage wall with the lists of the check boxes that people need to check off. But I would say in this category, there's a wide range. We do see people who have much more efficient systems and technology in place, and then we see people more in that unstructured category with that thing pinned across the wall. What I would just say is think about the goal of this stage. The goal of this stage is not to necessarily be Six Sigma next level trained on having beautiful process. It's just keep track of all the moving pieces of the deal. This is where introducing a back office or an operations system, sometimes called a CRM. Be careful with that word CRM. If you're talking to any vendors thinking about CRM, it's kind of gotten to be an off-used word. Make sure that they're thinking about what your actual use case of it is going to be. But when we see people with those systems in place, they probably have ready to go branded materials that can kind of take those deal processes to the next level. And they've got deal checklists in an automated system by the type of deal and understanding what documents need to be transferred and what actions need to be taken at every part of that deal stage. And look, technology to support deal flow, it's come a long way from where we saw in the early days of commercial real estate. So you need to be asking yourself to not bite off more than you can chew. You need to be asking yourself, are you ready for that kind of just contact relational database? Or are you really saying, I want to get every activity linked and across my entire team or brokerage at large? So if you have some of that today and you want to also incorporate that deal flow into your back-end accounting system, maybe how you process commissions, maybe how you send out invoices, maybe how you track your receivables, and you want to review and analyze that and have a full view of your pipeline of money coming in, that's really putting you on that cusp from strategic to a leadership level. So as we think about those different parts of the deal lifecycle, you've got the data research, you've got contact management, that prospecting work, and then also how you're managing the deal. Where maybe do you fit along those cycles? So let's put these two things together. We've got the framework of our 4 categories, and then we're thinking about where we are in those categories on every life cycle, part of the deal cycle. So what do we do with that? I'm going to give a little example of our friend here, John. John works at ABC Brokerage. John is an expert at catchy brokerage names. He branded his ABC Brokerage to really get ahead. John decided to zero in on his tools and resources for prospecting. And he decided that was the area where he really wanted to focus and could change his business. And he went all in. And he went and he bought every leadership level prospecting tool that he could find. And then John fell flat on his face. Even though these tools had really strong data visualization, streamlined email marketing, maybe they had prospecting workflows that told him who to call at what time, and he had an auto dialer, John bit off more than he can chew, because it wasn't just about his appetite for strong prospecting. His problem was he hadn't also looked at his contact management and diagnosed where he was on that category. And he had a lot of room to grow in the way that he managed contacts. So that full strength prospecting tool is not necessarily going to deliver at the strategic or leadership level if you are still unstructured or emergent on the contact management. So he was processing contacts manually. He had one-off spreadsheets. So if we back up, what John should have done is he should have looked at each stage, not just the one that was stuck in his craw, and said, where do I measure on these? And if he had seen, I'm both unstructured and emergent at contacts and prospecting, probably could have gotten away with lower level tools in both categories instead of full board tools in one category and seen better results. Now, the one more thing I'll say about tools and the different categories for John to know, because I hear this a lot when people are evaluating technology, is they evaluate technology and they come to me and they say, well, this tool has way more than I need. Even if you're not at strategic or leader yet, don't forego a tool just because it has more than you need. Is it really good at the parts that you need? And if that's true, then evaluate that cost of that tool for those parts. Maybe you can eventually grow into those other features, or maybe you never use them. But that's okay. You don't need to feel guilt about not using a tool to its full potential. Just focus on the features that are really important to you and that you really think fit your diagnosis of where you are. And if those features are great, focus on those and use them to the hilt. And just evaluate the cost of the tool in terms of its return on those features. Software is notorious for trying to make sure they service every buyer that they can. And it's okay if you don't use every feature that they've put in there available to you. They're servicing a broad spectrum of customers. Just focus on the features that are most important to you. Okay, so how do you get started on this tomorrow? This is really the most important part to me. We all have webinars where we talk ad nauseum, an idea and a bulb sparks. but we don't know where to begin. So here's where you start tomorrow. As we talked about, go across that deal life cycle and do the self-diagnosis. Get on a scale and decide where you are for each of those categories. And I know this is a fast webinar. We're going to send you the recording out, but regardless, we've also got an ebook available to you. This walks through in detail each of those different 4 categories and also the different parts of the deal cycle, and it helps you, it acts like your scale, and it's going to help you understand where you are so that then you can decide which area of the deal deal life cycle do I want to focus on, and what does it mean for me to grow into that next category? What's my tech appetite? Of course, the Buildout team would love to help you across this tech maturity model and help you understand where you are and help you talk about tools that Buildout offers, but also tools that Buildout doesn't offer. I'm going to put one more bug in your ear to really try and push you into action on this. And if we were in a room together, I love in this remote digital webinar world to try and at least pretend we're in a room together. If we were really in a room together, I would ask you to raise your hands. And if you're in the privacy of your own office or some booth at a conference or wherever you are, raise your hand. It feels good. I'm going to ask you a question. 2 questions, actually. Question 1. How many of you have kids? I would raise my hand. And here's a more important question. How many of you blinked and they were grown? And you turned around and they'd suddenly become entirely different people and had grown up almost before your eyes. I'm that too. There's a saying, if you have children, the days are long, but the years are short. And I would suggest that technology in your business acts much the same. Every single day is a slog. You've got showings, you've got calls to make, you've got client deals to negotiate, you've got people to meet, you're out in the city, you've got a lot on your plate to try and run and grow your business. And the idea of carving out a little section of that day to also make time to think about your tech appetite and how you're going to use technology to advance your business seems impossible. It seems improbable. There's no way to find time to really focus on this. What I would say is those days are long, but the years are short. And you're going to blink and you aren't going to have thought about what technology can do to change your business. You aren't going to have thought about how you can reduce costs with technology and streamline your business so it's less expensive for you to scale and drive money than it is after this downturn than it is before. The days are long, but the years are short, and it will be very fast when you will blink and you will be left behind. Find the time. Find it in your day. Take action tomorrow, because we're seeing it across the industry and all customers. Technology adoption isn't the future, it's now. And if you don't move out of it, I think particularly after this market turns back around, you're going to turn around and a lot of your competitors are going to have used this downtime to fundamentally change the way that their business operates. I love talking about this topic and such. I'd love to answer some Q&A and take the time to hear what questions you have or how you might be thinking about this with your business.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If you haven't yet, please do so now. I'm going to read through some of them. Okay, one I can answer. Will this be recorded and will we get this? Yes, this is recorded and we'll be sending out the recording in the next few days. My brokerage is beginning to think about purchasing some new tools. What questions should I be asking to find a good vendor/partner?
Sure. Obviously, I'm going to trust that you're evaluating the features. You're taking demos. You're trying to understand if these offerings that they have support your business. The second set of questions that I would be asking for is you really want a partner. Taking on technology isn't just what that partner offers now, but what they plan to offer in the future. Ask questions like, what other companies have they worked with like you? What experience do they have? Have they seen your types of issues before? And then you also really want to understand how much they cater their product roadmap, which is an annoying tech term for what they're developing and what new things they're adding to their product suite. How much of it is built off of customers, customer feedback, and how much of it is built off of understanding what customers need? In commercial real estate, I would also be very cautious and ask questions around where they see the future of the broker or the brokerage in commercial real estate. A lot of technology companies saying, how do we disintermediate? How do we remove the broker or the brokerage from this process? You want to be careful of that because they're using you as a means to an end. And certainly Buildout, as I said, our philosophy is very much that brokers and brokerages are going to be a part of this for forever. And so you want to make sure that you have a partner that their incentives, the way they're paid, the way they make money, is it aligned to your business being successful, or is it just aligned to their business?
Awesome. Thank you, Helen. Another question has come in. How long has your platform been on the market, and does it have an app?
Yes. So our platform has been on the market for, 12 years, 13 years now. And we cover about 30% of the brokerage space, everything from large enterprise brokerages all the way down to individual brokers. And I really love supporting them because we can make them a team of 12 when they're only a team of 1 for real, because of how we scale. And certainly we focus on mobile, and we're mobile responsive on all of our products to make sure that you can do as much as you can on the go.
Awesome. Thank you. How much importance should I be putting on integrations if I'm using multiple tools to do my business?
Certainly. So I would say integrations are important, and it's something Buildout talks about a lot. How do we continue to evolve our platform so that our tools make a seamless experience as you go across our whole family of products? Having said that, I would take caution to value integrations or connectivity between your different products or the different suites of software. Don't value that over the individual use case that you're using them for. You could have 5 sets of tools that help you across those different parts of the deal cycle or help you in different parts of the business that talk to each other seamlessly. You only have to operate in one system. You never have to open up a new window. Everything is perfect, except none of them do the individual thing you're trying to get them to do that well, right? It's a call console and it integrates with everything you do, but it's the worst calling console you've ever worked with, right? Integrations are an add to, but they're not a replacement for that single use case working beautifully. So focus first on what is the actual thing you're trying to solve for. What is the thing you want to do better? Find the software that does that the best. And then if there's 2 that do that well, maybe look at how they integrate, but don't value one over the other.
That's great advice. Thank you. A few people have been asking, and we will be reaching out after this call. So if you're like, I'm unstructured, I'm emergent, I need help, don't worry, we have got you. Right. Oh, this is a great question. How can I get my brokers to accept new technology and get away from keeping spreadsheets?
Sure. Technology adoption is tough, particularly in markets that, like we said, for a long time operated without technology. And what I would say is there's 2 pieces. One, really make sure that you're very clear with your brokers or your teams at what this is solving for and how it will help their business, right? It's not technology for technology's sake. It's for this specific thing. The second piece is, again, don't overuse the features and don't try to introduce everything all at once. Just focus on the pieces that are really, really important and look for the technology that allows you to focus on that. And it's super easy. Buildout UX, which is the dumb way of saying user experience, but how easy is the thing to use? How easy is the interface? You want to use technology that's simple, simple, simple. Buildout follows that old technology adage of if your product needs an instruction booklet, you designed it wrong. Look for the technology that is paint by broker. I mean, just simple, easy to use, very intuitive, and that can help with some of that adoption curve. The last thing I will say on that front too is showcase examples. And we try and do this at Buildout, but if you have one broker who's adopting whatever technology solution you're using and they're seeing success with it, have them give a case study, have them give a stand-up with your office or with other brokers, have them tell their story about how it's changing their business. So much easier to talk mano a mano, broker to broker about what people are doing that's successful for them than just if you're, a managing partner or an MD, if you're just trying to tell people, hey, I promise this is going to work. Get somebody who is using it to tell others.
Awesome. Thank you. It looks like we're coming up on time, so I think we should give everyone 2 minutes back in their day. What do you think, Helen?
I would love it. Hey, thank you really so much for joining. Happy to have any more conversations about this. If you can't tell, I'm just really passionate about technology being able to change your business for the better, reduce costs, make you more successful. Hopefully some of that technology is built out, but happy to talk about any vendors that you're looking at or evaluating and give you the real talk on what's great, what you should use, what maybe is still trying to find its way, and help you think through, are you unstructured? Are you emergent? Are you strategic? Are you leader? Let's make this simple.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining.